Thank you for joining our Bay Area Older Adults Origami Lily class.
So again, we're making, more easily see this pink lily that we'll make today. And it's a lot of repetitive folds, but the folds need to be really well creased, so just take your time, because you can see there's a lot of folds here on top of each other, and then there's folds in here. And if you don't have an exact 8.5 or 8.5 by 8.5 or an exact square, it won't be perfect, but it should be fine. So the first thing we're going to do is, if you have one colored side and one white side, in order to have the flower color on the outside, what you want to do is put the color face up, and we're going to make a horizontal fold. So we're going to line up the two edges. Oops. As best as you can. Pull your finger down, and then push your finger up and down from the center, and just make that crease really nice and firm. The creases today are going to be especially important because we're doing a lot of what, if you've been in the class before, I call squash folds. Well, Gladys, I just want to make sure your video is off. For some reason, it's on again. Okay, so just get that nice and tight, and then you're going to open it up, and we're going to fold perpendicular. So same type of fold, but in the opposite direction. So line that up. Pull down from the center. And you can use, like, I don't have really long nails, so you can use your nails as long as, you don't want to cut through the paper when you're creasing. Okay? Next thing we're going to do is flip the paper over. So if you have a white on the other side, you want the white facing up. And then we're going to do a diagonal fold, which I already have because that's how I made my square. So you want to make sure this tip lines up with this tip over here, and pull down from the center, and then crease from the center. And again, let's make our creases really nice. Go over them a few times. And then you want to open up and again do a completely perpendicular fold. So bring this tip up to this other tip. And bring it down the middle with your finger, and then crease going away from the center. Now you might be able to see that my paper isn't perfectly square, so I've got a little white there showing up. It's not going to matter. It just means, like, I don't think you can tell here that my paper wasn't super perfectly square, so you probably won't be able to tell. So again, just crease that really well. So now we're going to open this up. Well, actually, what we're going to do is the color side up, or whichever side that you open. You just flip it over, flip over the paper, And you see there are a lot of creases. It kind of stands on its own. What you're going to do is just kind of push it together so that you've got a triangle here. Okay, so let's do that one more time. We've got it sitting like that. We're just going to push this together and then sit it down as a triangle. Now that you've got the triangle, we want to just crease this as well. So you might want to just kind of rub your finger down the middle, hold it down the middle, and then crease out. And I don't know about you, but this happens to me every time, where the fold I made isn't exactly what the fold is when I crease it out again. Don't worry about that, just, you want to crease it well. And then the other side, same thing. And when you're done with that, we're just going to lift up one side, move it over, and crease that as well. Because again, these creases are really important. And now we did that one side, we're going to do the opposite side. You can, again, put your finger down the middle and crease. And then this should be already fairly well creased on the other side. It's where you've got the doubled up paper that you might need to crease again. Just want to make sure you're all creased in here. Now, if you got our email this morning, I mentioned you're going to need a pen or a pencil. So if you don't already have a pen or pencil, let me give you a couple minutes to get that, because this is going to be really make your squash folds a lot easier. So basically right now we've got 4 little legs of a kind of a star here, right? And with each of these, we're going to be squashing each of these little triangles. So let's take the one that's flopping around over here. You can take whichever one's a start. You don't have to do it in any particular order, although doing the top and the bottoms first is a little easier. You're going to stick your pen in here. And what you want to do is basically squash. So you're going to squash this thing down. And, you could put your finger this very point to get that point nice and flat first. And then, again, like kind of support the center. And then pull out from the sides to get your creases on the left and the right. Okay? So you can gently put some pressure on it first so you know you've got the right crease, and then reinforce the crease. So let's reinforce both sides of this. So that's our first squash, and we have to do 3 more, 1 for every one of these little flaps. So what we can do is turn this over, and then we've got this other little flap here, and do the same thing. So you can open it up a little with your thumbs, but then when you have a little trouble, stick that pen in there, get that tip opened up. See, depending on your paper, you may have a little more difficulty. And this time, since we already have our first done, you can kind of line it up with the one you did before. But again, let's do the tip first. Just rub down that tip. Put it down the center, line it up with what you did before. And then gently rub your finger down the sides. And once you're convinced that, okay, this looks really nice, it looks pretty symmetrical, then you can reinforce that crease. Okay, so we did 2, now we got to do another 2. So what we can do is fold this over, line it up, and do a little pressure down here to get this all nice and flat. Okay, and then we can lift up this little, the next little triangle that we want to squash. Again, stick your pen in there. And like you can see here, it's not perfectly pushing out, so just stick the pen in there to get a nice point. Just dab it with your thumb, and then try to line up this next squash right with these other edges that you've already done. So you can push your finger down here, gently crease on either side, and that looks pretty well lined up, so now I can feel confident creasing really well on both sides. Okay, I'm going to take a sip of tea, make sure everyone catches up. So then the next thing is, let's just bend this one over where our last squash needs to be. Just press down, make sure it's nice and flat. Lift up your next flap, stick your pen in there, and that's our last of our first set of squashes. So again, get that tip down first, pull down from the center, gently do each edge, and then reinforce it. Right now we've got this bottom that's all flappy, right? What we're going to be doing is putting this edge to the center. So, and just take one of them. So there's, you can see there's all these different flaps over here. You just want to take one of the flaps that's for this piece of paper, part of the paper, and put this edge at the center. And do the best you can to make a nice tip, pointy tip here. And once you feel like you got it nice and straight, make that crease nice and solid. And then we're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. So we're going to move this edge to the center. Now this is a lily. I think this is one of the, well, probably not the first thing my grandmother taught me, because it's relatively hard, and if I was only 6 years old, my fingers probably couldn't do it, but it's one of the first origamis that my grandmother taught me. Okay, so now we've got these two folds on this side. We're going to have to do that on all four sides. So let's just turn it over, and we'll do it again on this side. So again, this edge to the center. And trying to make a really nice sharp point at this end. And let's make those creases nice and tight. And now this edge to the center. And remember, only this one, not two thicknesses of paper, just one thickness of paper. Because sometimes it's hard not to grab two. And try to do as best as you can with the tip being nice and pointy. And then again, get that nice and solid. So we're doing this 4 times, that's twice. So what we can do now is open this up. And you're going to do the same thing here. So what you want to do is, you can see here, there's some sides where it's white bottom, purple at the top. You don't want to be folding those. You want to be folding them when you've got solid piece of paper. So again, this edge to the center. Get a nice sharp point as best you can. Crease it well. Same thing over here. Oops. So can you imagine if we started with a really small piece of paper, how hard this would be? So now we got to look for another solid piece. So this, we flip this over. That's not solid. We flip it over again. We've got a nice solid area to do this one more time. So edge to the center. And it's tricky. It's hard to get this tip nice and perfect. Okay. So now you see we've got it on all. We've got 4 of these folds. And in between, we've got some funky other thing going on. So now what we're going to do some more squashes, right? So we did in the beginning, we did 4 squashes. We're going to do a different kind of squash, but it's going to be a squash. So first thing we're going to do is open up one of the sides. And we're going to fold this tip down to this tip. Okay, so this tip down to this tip. So it's pretty much in half. And this is just to make a crease that we're going to use for the squash. Okay. And then let's just turn it over and do the same thing on the other side. Open it up and put this tip to this tip. And you can feel when you're doing this that there's lots of layers of paper here, and so it makes it a lot harder to fold. Just do the best you can. All right, so ready for the next squashes? So this is not super easy. Here, let's flip it over again and start over here. So what we're going to do is lift this flap up, and we're going to lift it up until that nice fold we just made. Okay? And you're seeing that now we're getting some kind of shape forming. Okay, so basically we've got this nice fold we made. We're sticking our thumbs underneath and lifting it up until that crease. And what we want to do is, sorry, let's take this angle. So now we've got it like this. What we want to do now is put this edge up against this middle edge. So we have a nice point here. And just kind of gently rub your finger on it to crease it. And then over here, we're going to be squashing it down on the crease we made previously. So it's not super smooth. I wish it was super smooth, but it's doable. So same thing for the other end. The other end, we're basically going to be putting this edge over here, maybe sticking your finger in here so that you can line it up and get a nice point over here. And it kind of forces the other side to fold down properly. So just make sure, try to get these little corners nice and flat. And once you feel like you have it looking fairly nice, you can just really crease these well. Now you can see here, let me bring it up closer, this isn't the perfect tip. It's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. So let's crease this some more. So that is one of the 4 squashes we have to do. Okay, so let's flip this over. And again, this is the line, that fold we made. We're going to lift up this flap, stick our thumbs under there, lift it until that crease, that horizontal crease we made, and do the same thing. We want to get this edge, and you might have to stick your thumb in there to get it to bend over. Line up that edge, try to get as nice a point as you can over here. You might need to stick your finger over in here to get a decent point over here too. And let's do the other side. So again, you can stick your finger in here, fold it over, and then, see, look at this is what's happening to me. I've got a little overfold. It's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then just crease really hard. So you're opening up this side, right? You could put your 4 fingers where the crease is, and you want to lift up this flap, right? So support that crease with your 4 fingers, put your thumbs in on either side, and then lift up. And what I like doing is actually turning it to the side once I've lifted it up. Now I see what you're saying, Janine, that this looks like it's going to rip if you force anything, but you want to push down with your forefinger, and you'll see, and put your forefinger in here so you actually can bend it and line it up. And you don't want to pull, line it up that way, you just want to line up this little edge here and fold here. I don't know if you can see it well. Right, so we're just trying to get this little fold made. So don't pull it, but if you pull it too much, you're right, you're going to rip it, so just fold it right like this. And once you've got this folded, then you can kind of flatten it out and use your finger to get the rest of it folded down. Now you can see it's not lining up for me perfectly, but just trust me, it's not going to matter in the end. And now you see on the other side, it's kind of yanking something, right? But that's why you just stick your thumb in there. And the main thing is to just push down and just get this edge as close to possible to this edge. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. And then once you're there, just crease it really well. So if I go to where my 4th one is, right, then I open it up.
I don't think my triangles are right.
I don't know. I mean, it might be just, it's kind of a mind-bending shape, so that might be why. So I'm just going to stick my thumb in here, just gently push down and make it the edge and the crease. Stick my thumb in here. And I'm taping this so like you can always look at it afterwards as well. I'll put it online. Crease that, then I'm sticking my thumb on this side, lining up the fold here. So once you've got all 4 of these folded, then you're kind of in another kind of kite shape. Okay. Okay, so basically I've done all 4 of them. And so what you've got is this kite looking shape. And you want to put the stubby part at the bottom. So the one with the shorter legs is going to be at the bottom. Sorry about that. So then the next step is to put this down. So now you've got a nice symmetrical diamond shape. Now if for some reason you are holding it this way or whatever, you're not going to be able to do that. So just find the place where you've got the folds. You've got it all lined up, something that you just finished, and fold that down. And then you can kind of look to the next, find the next one. So here's the next one, and put that one down. And then kind of flip through the book to find the next one, which is probably you flip the paper over, and you put that one down. And flip the book again, find the last one, and put that one down. So basically there's the theme of 4 here. So at the bottom you should have the flappy legs. At the top it's all attached. There's no flapping. So you want that to be on the top. We're going to be folding the top part now. So just like we did similar before, we're going to be folding this to the center edge on the tip that does not flap. And again, you know, we've done a bunch of folds on top of folds, and so this is going to be hard to get a nice clean tip here. So let's line that up. Try to get as sharp a tip as you can, and then crease really well. Do the same thing on the other side. We're putting this edge to the center. Okay. Now we can flip this over. And again, we're doing it not to the flappy edge, but the other edge. We're going to be putting this edge to the center as best as you can. You might need to stick your finger in there to get that pointy tip lining up. Then we're going to do the opposite edge to the center. Again, you might want to put your finger in there. Line it up as best you can. Oops. And then crease it. So we've done 2. We're going to need to do 2 more. So let's look for our other. It's not this end. We're going to do the flip. Flip the book over to find the next symmetrical diamond. And again, not the end that has flippy legs, but the other end. We're going to be putting the edge. And then creasing it really well. But again, this edge to the center on the opposite side. All right, what is that, 3? We did 3 out of the 4. So let's look for our next edge. Flip through the book till you find the next diamond. And again, we're going to be folding the tip that is not the flappy end. Okay? This is our fourth and final time. Again, match the edges. Now, believe it or not, compare that to this flower, or better yet, compare that to this flower. Looks pretty similar, right? The only difference is we're going to use our pen again to essentially get the petals to curve out. So we're pretty much done. So what you do is just take one of the petals and you're going to wrap the pen around the petal. See? You got the nice curve in the petal. Then you can do it on the opposite side. Just take that petal on the opposite side and roll it around your pen. I think when we were little, we used to do, if it was the right paper, you could like, it was thin enough it would actually burn it in. And then take the third petal, do the same thing, roll it around, and then the last petal, oops, it doesn't want to stay. Roll it around. And you've got your lily.
I hope you had fun making the origami lily. Have a great day.